Hello, BookTube. My name is David. Welcome back to my channel, and we are here for a weekend's reads, where we're going to talk about the books that I've finished, the books that I'm currently reading, and potentially books that I'm looking to hopefully start by the end of this next week. So let's dig right into it. So the first book I finished this week is The Fall of Numenor by J.R.R. Tolkien, edited by Brian Sibley, and this is got illustrations by Alan Lee, which are delightful as always. And essentially, this is taking all of what Tolkien's written about the Second Age and compiling it into one volume. And I'm going to, this next week, work on getting a written review up, because I want to do that with a handful of newer releases, to try my hand at the reviewing process. So this is going to be the first one. And there's one other that I finished this week that I'm going to be doing the same thing for. But one of the issues that comes up when reading this is you've got some very obvious problems with what happens in here. Essentially, I'm not going to find it in here. So the forging of the three rings, all of the rings, happens about 1,000 years before Isildur and his father and all of them flee from Numenor and the fall of Numenor itself. And so having the two of those things happening at the same time in Rings of Power is one of many, many glaring issues. This is the gospel truth right here of what's going to happen. We can pretend the rest of it, if you watch the Rings of Power, is just an alternate universe, an alternate reality, where things don't make as much sense. You know what? That's okay. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this a lot. It was great having just a one-volume go-to resource. So next, I finished Space Infantry. So this is a set of short stories edited by David Drake. It's got David Drake, it's got Fritz Lieber, Pornell, Dixon, Joe Haldeman, and others. Military sci-fi is not really something that I've delved much into outside of the Forever War trilogy. And I don't think it's going to be my sweet spot overall for science fiction, but I did enjoy most of these. Some of them were not as good as others, but the Joe Haldeman one in particular had me just itching to dig into more Joe Haldeman again, which has been a good thing. So the next book I finished is this one right here. Just recently finished this. This is Escaping First Contact by T.S. Beyer. This is an author who has a BookTube channel, Sound and Fury Book Reviews. Tina is fantastic. If you haven't checked out her channel, definitely go do so. I will be doing a written review for this as well. This is book one in a trilogy. I believe all of them are out, even though this just came out, I think, last year. I believe she had all of them written and then kind of released them quarterly, which is great. It is exactly what the title is describing. So a ship of crew members gets onto a ship, and they need to escape. It's the first time they've had contact with this particular alien race, and that is the premise of the plot. But within that plot, there is a lot of interpersonal relations between the crew members who are of varied species. So we have different alien races and a pair of humans. And seeing how they all interact, how they all grow to deal with each other, is what really drives this book forward. If you ever wanted to have the pacing and witty dialogue of John Scalzi paired with the interpersonal relationships and explorations of alien cultures mingling together of Becky Chambers, this right here will deliver that for you. So if that interests you at all, I strongly recommend you go support one of our very own and pick up a copy of Escaping First Contact. It was a very fast read and a very enjoyable read. So those are the 3 books that I finished in the past week. And so now we're going to talk about the books that I have been reading. And we will start with one that I've only read a little bit more out of, and that is Chaucer and his contemporaries. This has got Chaucer and other contemporary essays on them. Last week I was in the middle of all of kind of the background, setting the scene essays. Now I'm into the Chaucer ones and enjoying them. But this is not my primary focus. This is kind of when the mood strikes, I'm going to pick it up and read 1 or 2 out of it. And I am enjoying it. But it'll probably be on my reading list. Ignore my daughter. She's just enjoying her lights. She's having the time of her life there. And it's just delightful. She's in a happy mood. But she's happy to hear me talking. So the next short story collection I picked up is Dealing in Futures by Joe Haldeman. I've read 3 out of here so far. One of them was a novella. And all 3 have been fantastic so far. It just confirmed for me the urge I had to dig into Haldeman again was a right call. I'm enjoying this. I'm going to be reading this, probably all of this next week. Let's see how many more stories I've got in here. I don't think I'll finish it by the weekend. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 more stories to go. So yeah, it'll probably be another week. So this will be being read next weekend and then probably finished in the weekend following it because I'm just reading 1 a day out of this. To allow me to always have a short story going, but not take away focus from the bigger reads. And speaking of bigger reads, we have our chunker that I'm doing right now, Children of Ashen Elm by Neil Price. I'm just about done with chapter 1. There's a lengthy introduction in here as well. Really enjoying it so far. I'm very, very slow with nonfiction reads, I've found. And so this is as the mood strikes, I'm going to sit down and read 10, 15, 20 pages at a time and set it aside and pick up something else in between. Because that is the way that I'm able to get through things like this a lot faster. And my goal is to get through this by the end of the month so that I'm ready for the Steve Donahue Book Club pick for the next month in February. So that is my goal, and I've got a lot of book left to go. So I'm going to try to at least finish chapter 1 today and keep going on that. But the other fiction book that I've picked up is my other Joe Haldeman that I have on my shelf, All My Sins Remembered. I've read it's not broken into chapters, but I've read part 1 essentially. It's got an interesting way of breaking it down. So we've got an interview, and then it goes to prologue, and then it's got a redundancy check, and then an episode. So I'm at the episode To Fit the Crime, which is a bigger set there. I'm enjoying it so far. I think I'm catching on to what the premise of this is. Basically that a person's going and doing things and gets completely wiped, but then he'll end up remembering all the terrible things that he's done. So enjoying that. And I've got one more that I want to talk about. This is one I started right after finishing Tina's book. And this is, you can't even really see it here because it's not picking up. This is Mr. Midshipman Hornblower by C.S. Forrester. So the Hornblower read-along, essentially, being hosted by Richardson Reads over there, Mark. And really enjoyed the first chapter of this. I did not think nautical fiction was going to be my jam, but I figured since somebody gifted me all 11 volumes that I should give it a shot, and it sucked me in. I think this is going to be very much my jam. I'm going to absolutely love reading one of these a month for most of the year, because there's 11 of them, so it'll take us through November, I think. I'm looking forward to getting back into this, so I'm really happy about that. So the last thing I want to talk about is something I discovered this last weekend. I didn't talk about. So I live in a small town in Iowa, and prior to December, because that's when this opened up, I would have to drive probably half an hour in a couple different directions to reach any sense of a side of a bookstore. And then this bookstore opened up, Brick Road Books, here in Winterset, Iowa. They've got their little event calendar here for January on this bookmark. They've got their contact info. You can find them Facebook, Instagram, and email. And it's great having a local bookstore. They've got 3 hardcover copies of Children of Ashenelm. So if I really, really enjoy Children of Ashenelm, I'm probably going to upgrade to a hardcover and maybe send one of you this paperback. We'll see how that goes. I'm really enjoying it so far, and so that's probably going to happen. But what I'd like to see happen, so I'm on this 500 book challenge. I can't go and buy random books at the drop of a hat. I'm going to use them to pick up all of the Steve Tiberius Donahue book club books each month, as long as I don't have them, so that I can support them at least once a month. But I'm kicking around the idea of something similar to what Steve actually does with the Brattle, where seeing if it could be to where if you wanted to show some support, you could call in and put some credit towards my name. I'll chat with the gal next weekend and find out for sure, and I'll report back on my next weekend reads if that's something that is capable to happen. But if nothing else, I do know, based on her Facebook page, that they are able to pull books and ship them. And they have no problem with that. So if you are interested in supporting a brand new bookstore that is just getting off the ground, they've got newer releases, they've got brand new books, and they have a section of used books as well. I don't know how well it'll be for them to go through all of that. And I'm going to see in this next coming week how well they do with tracking down a book request. Since I sent the Donahue book pick over to them and said, hey, I'd love you to order this for me. I'll come in and pay for it and pick it up. But if you want to show support for a brand new bookstore, I will leave that email and the name of it in the description down below, so you can go and check them out and reach out if you want to make some purchases and just shower them with love. I would love nothing more than that. Even if not a single one of them comes my way, I'd love to find out that, oh my gosh, I just had a flood of orders that I'm going to be shipping, and it's great. So that's all I've got. I better get to Laffy Girl over there, who is craving my attention. So we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you, BookTube.